Happy Red Friday, Low VA Race Nation. It's your favorite loan officer, Maurice Navarro here. Just want to, in case I forget later on, just want to wish you guys a happy Veterans Day coming up. I hope you've got a great weekend planned. As always, wearing red here, support our troops. Red Friday, remember everyone deployed. So thank you all those who are out there serving. Today, we're going to be talking about VA loan assumptions. Are VA loans assumable? So let's define that term first, assumable. Basically, that means that if somebody assumes a loan, they take over that loan. In other words, if I've got a home loan and somebody's going to assume it, they're going to take whatever's left of my loan balance, my interest rate, my mortgage, basically. All right, so they're going to have to be making those payments. All right, but there are a few rules to follow when it comes to loan assumptions. It doesn't mean that everybody can do them. Okay. Now the VA does allow it, but certain VA lenders may not. So it is still up to them on whether or not the loan itself can be assumed by someone else. Now I've had a lot of veterans mention that, well, my dad, actually the children of a veteran, for example, hey, my dad's a veteran. Can I use his VA eligibility, his entitlement to get a home loan? Fortunately, that you can't. All right. So only a service member, someone who's is currently serving, or is a veteran, or a spouse of a deceased veteran, and even that has certain rules to follow, can get a VA loan. Okay. So a loan assumption, though, is somebody who can take over that new loan. All right. So let's go through a little bit of the process. All right. So if the person who wants to get that loan, they still have to get qualified, they still have to get their credit pulled, income qualifications, so forth. So they're going to still be underwritten, all right? So what's important though, actually let's go over why would you want to do this, okay? Well, let's use today as an example, okay? In other words, today's rates, today's situation with the industry, with the market. Interest rates are going up if you haven't noticed, okay? So somebody who's trying to sell a property, they might actually have trouble finding people who can buy because rates are high. The buyers or borrowers these days are looking and they're like, oh, I don't know if I can do that rate anymore. Always check though, because we here at Low VA Rates, though, we guarantee to have the best rates, okay? But the truth of the matter is rates have been going up. So let's say the veteran, when they bought their house or when they last refinanced, their rate is still at a 3.25. But purchase rates, that's just an example, let's say we're at 4.75. Well, a buyer, that actually seems appealing because they can get to take over that interest rate. Okay? So sellers can have that, they can use this as leverage to try to find people who would want to buy the house. So what happens? Okay, let's say they've gone through the process. Let's say the lender says, you're okay to assume this loan. Great. They assume the loan. But that doesn't necessarily mean that the veteran is free from that liability. It's actually very important to get what's called a statement or a release of liability. Because in other words, the veteran, let's say the mortgage is now moved away from the veteran and it's to this non-veteran, and the liability can still be the responsibility of the veteran. So if the new person who has assumed the loan, I hope you can follow and track. I hope you're tracking here. The new person who has assumed the loan, if they fail to make payments, that can show up on the veteran's credit. So you want to get a release of liabilities. You want to get that statement, that form, so that way it's no longer your responsibility. Okay? So we've talked about liability. All right. Of course, this marker is not being friendly with me today. You want to get a release, okay? There's the other question too of entitlement. That veteran who had that loan worked really hard. He was entitled. He had an entitlement. So, let's say the veteran now, that house is not his anymore. Someone else has now assumed it. Well, that entitlement that you use, that doesn't mean that all of a sudden you can go get another house. So let's say you used up your full entitlement and someone else has assumed your loan. you may not have anything left in order to get another VA loan. So now if the person who's assumed that loan is a veteran, they can use their entitlement and therefore restore your entitlement. But that's also a process that you have to work on. So you do want to get a statement of entitlement. Basically, you want to restore that. But it's very important to do that because a lot of veterans don't know that. I had one veteran about a year ago where someone else had assumed his loan. We pulled up his certificate of eligibility. Yes, we can do that for you. We pulled up his certificate of eligibility and found out that he didn't have any entitlement left. And he said, how can that be? I've served my time. I'm even a disabled veteran. What do you mean I can't get a VA loan? Well, that loan that was assumed, that entitlement hasn't been restored to you. Now, that can be taken care of. So, again, this can be taken care of if the person assuming the loan is a veteran, can do that. If they're not a veteran, then that may be a drawback for a veteran to do that because you might not get your entitlement restored. Okay. Another thing too is that when you assume a loan, the person who is assuming the loan does have to pay a 0.5% funding fee. Okay. So it's not the full funding fee that but it is sort of like the refinance funding fee, 0.5%. Okay. Do we have any questions? No? Okay. Well, I hope this makes sense. Sorry if I went a little back and forth. It's not a very common situation, but with the way rates are going, we do want to make sure our veterans have all the tools and resources at their disposal. More knowledge gives you more leverage. So if you're having trouble selling, maybe this is something you can use where they can take over that interest rate. All right? Well, again, have a wonderful Veterans Day weekend, guys. As always, your favorite loan officer, Maurice. It's been a pleasure. Take care.